to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV. WACV Cusana. News Talk 93.1 FM.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Election contests this weekend in 5 states, divvying up 134 delegates between Democrats and 175 among the GOP candidates. John Kasich, though, looking ahead to next Tuesday's primary as he appeals to voters in Michigan.
We have this this election coming on Tuesday, and it is going to be really nice if you could get out and help me out here at this thing.
The Democratic frontrunner is also spending time in Michigan today.
Polls suggest advantages for the frontrunners, Republican Donald Trump and Democrat Hillary Clinton, ahead of potentially more up-in-the-air contests like the one here in Michigan next week.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern. And the world's most famous sled dog race getting its ceremonial start in downtown Anchorage, Alaska. An inch of snow fell yesterday, first in close to 2 weeks. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Hey, we hope you're really enjoying the show today. Everybody knows that the Herb Shop has the best quality supplements, specialty foods, snacks, natural care products. But did you know we're really more of a wellness clinic? Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath. I offer a variety of testing and wellness screening that show you how well your body works and what body systems like the liver, kidney, digestion that need support through diet, hydration, and supplementation. We call the full group of testing or screening the biological terrain assessment. Unlike typical medical testing, which names a disease or an illness, we are looking at how to support specific body processes. First, I use the Zytocompass Bioscan. Then I'll use some first morning urine and saliva and place it into the quantitative fluid analysis. Next, I'll use advanced urine testing to identify 15 different areas, such as leaky gut. Then I'll use a small drop of blood to help you check your blood sugar and also put the blood into a high-powered microscope and do dark-field and live and dry blood analysis. Then we can also do toxic metal or heavy metal toxicity through the Oglio scan. That'll help us identify whether it's mercury or lead or other heavy metals. Then I'll summarize all the findings into a detailed plan of action so that you know exactly what to do step by step, from hydration, supplementation, and specific detoxing methods. Finally, my wonderful staff will assist you in gathering the products, further explaining the free ionized water program, and how to support you with education and other materials. I look forward to working with you to help you be the best health possible.
Hey, Jennifer, where you been, girl? I've been missing my favorite workout partner.
I know. It's my sinuses. It's hard to do much of anything when they flare up. I'm worn out. Congestion, sinus pressure, my face hurts. Heck, even my teeth hurt.
You should go see an ear, nose, and throat specialist. I think they call them otolaryng something. Anyway, I have one that I go to. They're called the Sinus Docs. SinusDocs.net.
Really? They can help me?
Yep, they'll get you feeling yourself again fast. They even offer the balloon sinuplasty that's done in office with little downtime. They can definitely help you breathe easier during allergy season. Just remember, SinusDocs.net. Now let's get busy, partner.
You don't have to be able to pronounce otolaryngology. Just remember SinusDocs.net. The Sinus Docs at Montgomery Otolaryngology can accurately diagnose what is causing your problems and make you feel better. Don't keep doing what doesn't work. Get help now. Go to SinusDocs.net or call 334-834-7221.
Good morning. Welcome to Winning Wellness. For the next hour, you'll learn how to win at health and win at life. Now, from the Herb Shop in Pepper Tree, here's naturopath Carl Schmidt.
It's good to be here. Last week we were talking about ways to detox and how to identify toxic levels, and we've covered other topics in the past with heart disease, and we've covered my background of how I got into natural health. And today I've got a special guest, Marge Roberts, and it's amazing the things that her experiences and what she's done. She's a specialist with homeopathy, and homeopathy is a kind of a science, if you will, that I'll get into that and let Marge explain that. Marge, are you there? So, and we're going to be covering all the different ways that homeopathy can be an excellent tool in your medicine cabinet to be available when issues happen. Marge, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning. Good to hear you. I was just introducing and looking at your resume and your background, and it's seeing that you haven't worked in nursing, worked in the VA, kind of worked in the typical medical model, and then at some point, what kind of piqued your interest and to turn and to learn about homeopathy and integrative and alternative? Was there something in your life that or someone that made you be inspired to learn more natural therapies?
Yeah, it actually goes way back into the 70s with a couple of patients of mine back in San Antonio when I worked there. I met two patients who used some of Dr. Carl Simonton's work, and he used mental imagery for cancer patients. And it was just remarkable how much better they did using the meditation than some of the other patients. And it just kind of piqued my interest in so-called alternative medicine. And I kind of dabbled in it over the years and kind of drifted away from it. And then, of course, like many people, your own health issues get you interested in looking at other issues. And so I had, some just dragon butt, so to speak, and didn't have energy and that sort of thing. Got into acupuncture and then started learning homeopathy. And this was like 30 years later. I was a nurse really for 30 years before I retired, but was kind of a rebel all the way along, refusing my flu shots and that sort of thing. So that's how I got interested. And then I met Dr. Schulten, who was a homeopath, and he started teaching me more about homeopathy. And so that just really became a strong interest of mine. But like he always said, and I believe that's only part of the picture, you still have to exercise, you still have to eat right. I eat organic, I exercise, and try to keep my mind positive and right. That's the most powerful drug there is between your ears.
Right. I was reading a little bit about Dr. Schulten and his history and his biography and how he founded Newton Homeopathics and how he had certain standards and concepts that were somewhat new in the industry when he developed and the quality and things. Could you elaborate maybe how you got connected with that and how you saw something unique about his process?
Yeah, actually, I met Dr. Schulten. My husband and I had a nonprofit that promoted all of natural health care, and he was on our board of directors representing homeopathy, so that's how I got to know him. And he was a remarkable man. He was a genius. He started studying homeopathy. He was an engineer. He got tuberculosis over in the 60s, and he was from Belgium. That's where he lived. Went to the doctors, couldn't tolerate the medicines, so he started to try to heal himself. He knew about homeopathy and started investigating. He went to a classical homeopath. If you know anything about classical homeopaths, they administer just one homeopathic and remedy. So they gave him Nux Vomica 200C. It didn't do anything. And so he kind of decided he had to go on his own quest and started reading some books on Bernard and Le Prince and some of the folks in France. Excuse me, with the French approach that combined remedies.
Well, that goes back to the original discovery of homeopathy and Dr. Hahnemann. And if I recall, the first application was trying to treat cholera in the French Revolution. Do you remember that history bit?
I don't remember on the cholera. I know homeopathy was discovered with Hahnemann in the treating of malaria. He was actually Hahnemann, who discovered homeopathy, was a medical doctor. And he became disillusioned with medicine of that time, and so he went from practicing medicine to translating texts. And in one of his translations, he came across something that he didn't agree with that had to do with quinine and malaria. And he did not like the rationale. He did not believe the rationale of why the quinine worked. And so he started experimenting on himself. Quinine was the treatment for malaria, but oftentimes the patient died actually of the quinine rather than the malaria. And so he thought, gee, I wonder if I dilute the quinine, if it would still be effective. And he theorized that it worked, the quinine worked because it actually gave the symptoms of malaria without giving them malaria. So he took the quinine and did approvings and, like I say, research on himself, and discovered that, it gave the chills, it gave the symptoms of the malaria, and he felt that's why it really worked. And that's the whole premise of homeopathy. Homeopathy is the Greek word homeo, meaning similar, pathia, meaning suffering, similar suffering. So what causes the suffering in its full form can help alleviate it in its homeopathic form, like the quinine, creating the symptoms of malaria without having it. Rus tox, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Rus tox is actually poison ivy. And so what happens when you get poison ivy? You get a rash. So you take the poison ivy, make it into a homeopathic, and it helps get rid of the rash. Not just the poison ivy rash, but eczema, diaper rash. Apis mellifica is a honeybee. So what happens when you get stung by a bee? It swells. So you can use homeopathic honeybee for edema and swelling. So that's that whole premise of homeopathy and the whole philosophy. Like cures like, similia similibus curentur, like cures like. What causes it helps alleviate it in its homeopathic form.
So there's thousands of different compounds or ingredients that have those origins where they know that a certain type of symptom is the response to ingesting something, and then so the homeopathy research began to figure out that an extreme dilution of something enabled the body to have an immune response that it didn't recognize or it didn't process or complete. Is that a way of explaining it?
Yeah, and it's the dilution part, but there is also a succussion part, and that's the part sometimes that people forget. Succussion is a type of shaking, and so nobody really knows how homeopathy works, but one of the theories is as the solution is not only diluted, but succussed or violently shaken each time, the molecules bombarding each other release some sort of energy or whatever that causes the body then to try to bring it to balance and to heal. So, when skeptics always say, well, it's just something diluted in water, so how can it work? Well, number one, it's not just stuff diluted in water because it won't work. If you miss the succussion part, the shaking part, it won't. It is just diluted. So you're right, and when they did this research, it was called provings, is what they call them, and you'll find them in a Materia Medica, which is a book, and there's several versions out there that will tell you what the expected effect of taking a particular homeopathic is and what it's indicated for. But, we know some of it simply, for instance, the snake venoms, what systems are affected if you get bit by a poisonous snake. Well, it's the nervous system and the vascular system. So you'll find those snake venoms, the lachesis, elaps, crotalis, in formulas like ours, varicose veins, for instance, you'll find snake venoms. The nervousness complexes, you'll find snake venoms. Okay? The majority and the preponderance of homeopathics are plant-based. But there are some made from animal mineral, so it can be animal mineral or plant.
Now, in American circles, it's in healthcare, it's maybe not as prevalent. I mean, many health food stores and supplement businesses have lines or homeopathics, and I found that Newton had some very unique formulas and that made them very effective. Would you say maybe in England or other European countries it's more prevalent and a lot of application is used in dispensing homeopathy or homeopathic remedies?
It is more prevalent in Europe. In England, for instance, you go to a doctor, you're just as apt to get a prescription for a homeopathic as a toxic drug. So it is growing. I'll have to tell you, it really is growing in the United States, but there's so many people in the United States don't even know it exists, much less know the power of it. But you're absolutely right. In Europe, it's mainstream. And the Queen of England and her family, for whatever that's worth, use homeopathic physicians for their health care.
Well,
and I'll also say, as a background in so-called allopathic medicine, I think there's always a place for allopathic medicine. I think it's just way overused, and many, many times conditions can be helped and people can be healed using the natural approaches of a naturopath, a homeopath, and again, like I say, always taking into account the diet and the exercise and the lifestyle as well.
Right. Well, we've got to take a break, and I'm just look forward to the rest of the information we're going to discuss today. Be right back after these messages.
Stay tuned and learn how to win at health and win at life with naturopath Carl Schmidt with Winning Wellness.
Hey, we hope you're really enjoying the show today. You know, everybody knows that the Herb Shop has the best quality supplements, specialty foods, snacks, natural care products. But did you know we're really more of a wellness clinic? Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath. I offer a variety of testing and wellness screening that show you how well your body works and what body systems like the liver, kidney, digestion that need support through diet, hydration, and supplementation. We call the full group of testing or screening the biological terrain assessment. Unlike typical medical testing, which names a disease or an illness, we are looking at how to support specific body processes. First, I use the Zytocompass Bioscan. Then I'll use some first morning urine and saliva and place it into the quantitative fluid analysis. Next, I'll use advanced urine testing to identify 15 different areas, such as leaky gut. Then I'll use a small drop of blood to help you check your blood sugar and also put the blood into a high-powered microscope and do dark field and live and dry blood analysis. Then we can also do toxic metal or heavy metal toxicity through the Oglio scan. That'll help us identify whether it's mercury or lead or other heavy metals. Then I'll summarize all the findings into a detailed plan of action so that you know exactly what to do step by step, from hydration, supplementation, and specific detoxing methods. Finally, my wonderful staff will assist you in gathering the products, further explaining the free ionized water program, and how to support you with education and other materials. I look forward to working with you to help you be the best health possible.
Held over. Ram Truck Month has been held over at Prattville's own Brubaker Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. If you're one of the many buyers who thought they missed out on last month's savings, here's your chance to lease a new 2016 Ram 1500 Crew Cab. Only $299 per month. In the market for an SUV instead of a truck? How about a new 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo? Lease only $339 per month. And don't forget about our quick and easy credit approval process. Plus, we'll give you top dollar for your trade-in.
I'm Charlie Royal, General Sales Manager of Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Prattville, and I live here. Come see me if you're not completely satisfied.
It's Ram Truck Month at Prattville's own Brubaker Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram on Cobbsport Road. Call 888-486-6895 or BrubakerofPrattville.com. Price after rebate. Qualified lessees with Chrysler Capital Finance. Security deposit waived. 10,000 miles per year. Ram 1500 24-month lease. $299 due. Jeep Laredo 36-month lease. $29.99 due at inception. Plus tax, tag, title, and acquisition fee. All rebates to dealer. Offers don't combine.
You're listening to Winning Wellness, a program to learn how to win at health and win at life with Herb Shop naturopath Carl Schmidt.
Welcome back. We have a really special guest today, Marge Roberts. Marge is a member of many different organizations, Complementary Alternative Medical Association, American Association of Homeopathic Pharmacists, the Association of Pet Product Manufacturers, Natural Product Associations. She has years and years experience, and she's a CEO, president of Newton Homeopathics. Welcome back, Marge.
Thank you.
It's just a wealth of information, and I want people to understand that there's an application for homeopathics. They're so easy to understand. They're labeled for conditions. I mentioned to you that one of my first situations with homeopathy is I was going to talk in front of a group, and I don't know if I had just pulled my back or what was wrong, but I had this pain down my leg, and I saw the homeopathic sciatica, and I said, I'm going to try that. And before I started doing several dropperfuls under my tongue, and it seems like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I had to get up and stand in front of people, and I realized as I was talking, I didn't have any of the pain or the discomfort, and the remedy had worked so quickly and so effectively.
Yeah, homeopathy is so powerful. It really is if you get the right combination, and it's always something to try first because it doesn't have side effects like drugs do. You know, it's not addictive. There's just so many advantages. It will not interact if you happen to be on other medications. You can safely take it. There's just a lot of advantages of homeopathy. Very economical.
One of I think biggest selling things in general when people go in and ask for something, and they may not even realize that it's homeopathic, is arnica for bruising. And I see a lot of people ask for that to help with different types of skin conditions. You have so many different interesting products, not only for common day adult issues, but for children and pets as well.
Yes, we do have a pet line, and I'm an animal person. So, as a matter of fact, I'm hoping one of my 3 dogs doesn't start barking here while I'm on the phone. So, yeah, we have a kids line, and we have a pet line. We also have a professional line for practitioners such as yourself that I'm sure you utilize those. Homeopathy is not regulated like herbs and supplements. They are regulated according to the Dietary Supplement Health Education Act. Homeopathy is actually legislated by the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938. So there are actually homeopathic remedies that are available by prescription only. Although the vast majority, and you can do miracles with what is available over the counter, that have been grandfathered in.
That's very interesting. You know, in supplements, you know, just common things like vitamin A, B, C, or herbs like garlic or parsley. There's no kind of saying, you know, you can't just say it's for a headache. But homeopathy has a labeling that the government has allowed, a name of a condition. Can you elaborate that kind of rule and defining those rules and let the public understand the safety in homeopathics?
Yeah, and the rules and regulations are kind of fluid right now because there's a lot of competition, so to speak. As homeopathy becomes more popular, of course, it becomes more of a threat to so-called mainstream medicine and pharmaceuticals because, indeed, often it can replace a pharmaceutical. But we use the Materia Medica, and that's what we can quote of saying, okay, according to the Materia Medica, this particular remedy has been found useful for such and such a symptom, okay, because we have a standards Materia Medica. We also are governed by the Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia of the United States, so they dictate how, to a certain degree, it has to be manufactured, okay? There's some flexibility, like I'll give you an example. According to the rules, we have to succuss or shake it at least 10 times. Okay, so we do it 50 times or 100 times. We're, like you said earlier, Dr. Schulten built the company on quality, so we always go that little bit step further and do what we believe that will make it a better product. But some of that is dictated to us by the Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia, and we do have, intermittent FDA inspectors that come unannounced to our manufacturing facilities. We save samples for 5 years. Every batch that we make, we save samples back. So there's all these safety measures that, to be honest with you, the FDA does some good things as far as.
That's right. I've got a copy of the Materia Medica here that was copyrighted in 1927. So those definitions have a long-standing history with American scientists and healthcare. And because of that validation from the Materia Medica and the documentation, these are more obviously labeled for the type of conditions. And then in the different formulas that Newton's has are combinations, as you mentioned, resources from the poison ivy or different raw ingredients from different types of plants or elements or animal products that invoke a condition, and then the formulas were developed for particular symptoms. Not too long ago, I guess it was middle of last year, I had a shingles outbreak, and I used the shingle homeopathic remedy, and the shingle outbreak had occurred on my forehead and then moved across my eye, and I took some other neurological supporting supplements, but because it was in my eye, I went to an optometrist, and on a Tuesday morning with a very swollen eye and blisters, and he scheduled for me to go back that Thursday, just 2 days later, and went to him. And he was so amazed at the recovery that the shingles were going in remission. The skin was healing over, and I really am glad I had that shingles homeopathic to take during that time.
Yeah, I always say that the only people that don't believe in homeopathy are those that have never tried it. So, I mean, you just gave two instances with your sciatica and with your shingles, and so, I just would encourage people to try it. For over-the-counter, of course, we can only sell for so-called self-limiting conditions. But to me, it's strange why anybody would use a pharmaceutical for indigestion, insomnia, all those things, because there's a homeopathic for it, whether from our company or somewhere else. And like you mentioned, we specialize in complexes because we think they're more effective. So each of our products has anywhere from 10 to 20 different single remedies that have been put together for different aspects of the condition. So, for instance, for the shingles, there was something in there for the pain, for the nerve pain. There was something in there for the skin, the actual rash. There was something in there for the detoxifying aspect of it all. So we combine those together. And then, like you said earlier, too, we label it for what it's for. Shingles, cough asthma, diarrhea, constipation, menopause, libido, whatever. We just name it. And, that was, again, the genius of Dr. Luke is when he came over, he didn't even speak English. And started this company at the age of 64, when most people are thinking of retiring. And so he just wanted to make it easy for the consumer to help themselves. So he named it for what it was. It was for diarrhea. It's not a glamorous name, but that's what's on the label, diarrhea.
And he was, in your pamphlet, it says the company was green before green was green.
Yeah, it was. I would say we were green when green was just a color. Now it's become a marketing tool, but that's how Dr. Luke lived. I mean, not a morsel touched his lips that was not organic. When he didn't move here until the early 80s, and he had already had an organic gardening show on the radio over in Belgium. So he was very much into, organic gardening, health, medicine, everything natural and quality long before he moved here, and then just carried that over into the business because he understood the importance of taking care of the environment, both the internal environment of your body as well as the environment that we live in.
That's amazing that when a corporate leader and a founder of a company has those principles that carry on throughout his life and into his corporate work and making a product that's so true and clean and pure. Not only using recyclable materials and the processes they use, the standards of cleanliness, of course, are critical, but it's also the effectiveness of the product shows in all that hard work.
Yeah, he just was such a blessing to the industry by having those standards, and I feel blessed of having him teach those to me. And of course, I was always into nature because I was raised on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. So, I was always taught to, as well, respect the environment. So, but he was a great teacher.
Well, let's go back over some of the typical, most common things. Like for children, there's allergies for kids. Do you see that used a lot, or is it territorial, or is it general?
The allergies for kids is very, I always tell people it has everything but the kitchen sink in it. In the adult versions, we have like dust mold animal dander. We have pollen and weed for the spring. We have hay fever for the fall. We have dairy grain and nightshades for those allergies. But the allergies for children, because sometimes we can't identify what they're allergic to, number one. So it has all of those things in one, and it's very popular. And of course, we have many adults that use that allergies formula for kids and just double the dose simply because it is so generic, so to speak. And then if you do want something specific, you can go to, or if you have identified, yes, I know on the have allergies to the spring pollens, then you can go for the pollen and weed. But some people use that kids for allergies, and that is obviously one of our, I think it might be either our number one or maybe number two seller, the allergies, but it is very popular.
Another one that I see for children is with the hypercalm and mental focus. Have you had good results with that? Is that something people are pleased with?
Yes, we've had excellent results for that, and more because people do not want to put their kids on Ritalin and some of those other drugs. And, now is a great time. We're getting into spring. What some parents do, because some parents, as you probably know, take their kids off of those drugs during the summer when they're out of school. So some people transition and start them on the hypercalm during the summer. So then by the time they get ready for school, they really only need it like in the morning before they school and maybe when they come home from school. And so they don't have to worry about trying to work with the school system to administer any medications of any sort, whether it's homeopathy or whatever, while they're at school. So sometimes they get them kind of, if you want to call it, regulated or started on them during the summer. I've been told by some parents as well that they kind of use that to settle their kids down at night for sleep. So we have an insomnia complex for adults in, for that condition. But some parents have told me they find that is very helpful for them, for their children to sleep well. So they use it in that way.
Great. And then there's all types of digestive support, homeopathics too, from constipation to diarrhea to indigestion.
Yeah, and because if I don't have a TV anymore, but for people who have TV, I know most of the commercials have to do with, either something to poop or stop pooping or, indigestion, irritable bowel, all these things. And it goes back, and I'm sure you see this all the time, Carl, with your clients, because their diets are crappy. And so their gut, and the gut is so important for overall health. If you have some sort of skin condition, you can bet it is centered in the gut. Am I not right, Carl?
Right.
I mean, there's that connect. Yeah, so you have to take care. Now, our bowel digestive care, that's the one I kind of go towards if there's a chronic condition going on. So if somebody has chronic constipation, I would do the constipation complex, but also the bowel digestive care, because that's more of a long-term thing, and I believe the remedies in there are for that healing of the gut. We have a kit that we call the Jumpstart Kit, and that is an integral part of it. There's 3 parts to it. The first part is our detoxifier, which is our number 1 seller, and it has liver and kidney remedies, because all the toxins that you ingest that go through the skin, they all are going to be metabolized or filtered through your liver and kidneys. So the detoxifier is for that. The bowel digestive care, again, because almost everybody's gut is compromised by histories of antibiotics and drugs and processed foods, etc. And then the third part of the Jumpstart Kit is called rheumatic joint care, but it really has remedies in there for inflammation, which again, even if it's not in the joints, it might be in the muscles, but it's for it has anti-inflammatory remedies in it. And we have some practitioners that start every single patient on the Jumpstart Kit to kind of clear the terrain so you can get a better picture of really what's going on. Because some of the issues that people have will be resolved simply by getting your liver and your gut in order.
That's so true. And then homeopathics can be, they're in a base of alcohol, but they could be put in water if someone wants to avoid the alcohol, even though it's a very, very small amount.
Yeah, it's a very small amount, and we use, and not every company does, but we use certified organic, non-GMO, and it's gluten-free because we use it from cane alcohol rather than corn alcohol. But it is very minuscule. So you can do one of 2 things. You can put it in a little bit of warm water, and the water does have to be warm, and the alcohol will evaporate. If you really just don't want it at all, all of our complexes are available in pellet form, which is alcohol-free. They're coated, and again, it's organic. Excuse me. It's organic beet sugar, lactose-free, because many pellets have lactose in, but ours do not.
That's good to give people choices about how they can administer these wonderful remedies to help with whatever condition they have. I can think of the things I have on at the store. As I mentioned, the shingles, the sciatica, headaches. There's so many different individual remedies. It's almost endless when you start thinking down the list of all the possibilities that like we mentioned with the digestive, but even warts and molds, which you may not think of, even vertigo or dizziness are great ways, even varicose veins. There's even and thyroid assist. There's a lot of ways to do. Is there a time limit that certain things, like for example, thyroid assist, could that be taken indefinitely, or is that a short-term use? What would you say is the best way to look at that?
Well, it depends upon the condition. The plan with homeopathy is that you actually help bring your body to healing. Excuse me. And you should not need them for the rest of your life. So it just depends on the underlying cause and reason for things.
So, like the detox, you can go on and off with the detox or the jump start that has a combination of detoxing. Can kind of do those seasonal, and then as symptoms occur, there's a type of homeopathic tincture for symptoms as they occur.
Yeah, like the detox, for instance, because you're always exposed to toxins. I take that 365 days a year. Okay? So, and the other ones, you just, like for instance, there's a cold sore complex. Okay? So I would find if I took it right when I got that itching and tingling, I would not get the cold sore. So, of course, that is going to be sporadic if I need it, and I haven't needed it for a long time. So it really varies from, even with the thyroid, what is the issue, but some of those, like the thyroid, would probably be more long term than, say, the cold sore or hopefully the tobacco withdrawal, because that's something that should help you, get done with it. Or the insomnia, you may just use that sporadically.
Right. So you just mentioned the tobacco withdrawal, and I see there's a caffeine withdrawal, and those are temporary. So when people are trying to kind of clean up their diet and their lifestyle, I remember years ago, before I started really learning about natural therapies, my wife and I were on vacation in Europe, and back then they didn't have coffee like they have in America, and so I just kind of skipped having the coffee, and I started getting a terrible headache. I wish I had had this caffeine withdrawal that day.
Yeah, you have to, and that's one thing I always tell people too, is like plan ahead when you need something, when you travel. I always travel with the Six Stopper. That's one of my favorite ones to travel with.
And I see there's a jet lag one too.
Right. Yeah. When you are flying, you want to, especially cross country. I don't do that a lot. And the motion sickness one, I have to tell you, I worked for Newton's for years. Was President Income for years before I tried the motion sickness, because I just knew it wouldn't work. Because when I was in a car, if I tried to read in a car, I could just ride in the car, no problem. But if I tried to read in the car, I got so sick. But I never tried it because I just knew it wouldn't work, because I had it so bad. And then I went to work out with a rep out in Oklahoma and Kansas, where we had hours on the road. And so I tried it, and Carl,
of course.
It worked.
Well,
it worked, and I couldn't believe all those years I didn't even use it, because I just knew it wouldn't.
I can't wait to hear more stories. We've got to take a break right now, and we'll be back in just a moment. Hey, we hope you're really enjoying the show today. Everybody knows that the Herb Shop has the best quality supplements, specialty foods, snacks, natural care products. But did you know we're really more of a wellness clinic? Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath. I offer a variety of testing and wellness screening that show you how well your body works and what body systems like the liver, kidney, digestion that need support through diet, hydration, and supplementation. We call the full group of testing or screening the biological terrain assessment. Unlike typical medical testing, which names a disease or an illness, we are looking at how to support specific body processes. First, I use the Zytocompass Bioscan. Then I'll use some first morning urine and saliva and place it into the quantitative fluid analysis. Next, I'll use advanced urine testing to identify 15 different areas, such as leaky gut. Then I'll use a small drop of blood to help you check your blood sugar, and also put the blood into a high-powered microscope and do dark field and live and dry blood analysis. Then we can also do toxic metal or heavy metal toxicity through the Oglio scan. That'll help us identify whether it's mercury or lead or other heavy metals. Then I'll summarize all the findings into a detailed plan of action so that you know exactly what to do step by step, from hydration, supplementation, and specific detoxing methods. Finally, my wonderful staff will assist you in gathering the products, further explaining the free ionized water program, and how to support you with education and other materials. I look forward to working with you to help you be the best health possible.
Held over. Ram Truck Month has been held over at Prattville's own Brubaker Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. If you're one of the many buyers who thought they missed out on last month's savings, here's your chance to lease a new 2016 Ram 1500 Crew Cab. Only $299 per month. In the market for an SUV instead of a truck? How about a new 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo? Lease only $339 per month. And don't forget about our quick and easy credit approval process. Plus, we'll give you top dollar for your trade-in.
I'm Charlie Royal, General Sales Manager of Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Prattville, and I live here. Come see me if you're not completely satisfied.
It's Ram Truck Month at Prattville's own Brubaker Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram on Cobbs Ford Road. Call 888-486-6895 or BrubakerofPrattville.com. Price after rebate. Qualified lessees with Chrysler Capital Finance. Security deposit waived. 10,000 miles per year. Ram 1500 24-month lease. $299 due. Jeep Laredo 36-month lease. $29.99 due at inception. Plus tax, tag, title, dock, and acquisition fee. All rebates to dealer. Offers don't combine.
Hello. Scott Bowers with PBS Painting here. Are you looking for professional interior, exterior painting? Looking for someone that won't cut corners and water down the paint? At PBS Painting, we pay attention to detail to ensure a quality paint job. We use only high-quality paints to ensure longevity to your paint job. I've heard too many stories of people getting burned by someone that was highly recommended, either by giving upfront money or just a low-quality job. At PBS Painting, no upfront money is needed, so you'll never get burned. PBS Painting also offers pressure washing, drywall, and exterior house cleaning. Call for details on that. PBS Painting serves the Tri-County area, including Lake Martin, Jordan, and the Auburn area. So if you're considering hiring someone to paint your home, one room or the whole house, then give me, Scott Bowers, a call. 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122.
You're listening to Winning Wellness with Naturopath Carl Schmidt on News Talk 93.1 FM.
And welcome back. Today I've got Marge Roberts on the show with me. She's an expert in homeopathy. She was a nurse for over 30 years, a lot of medical experience, and more important, I think, is a lot of integrated, alternative, and complementary experiences. Marge was just telling us a story how she'd used the motion sickness homeopathic because when she would be in a car reading, it would make her feel a little sick to her stomach. Anything else, Marge?
No, I would actually throw up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
I mean, that's why I said, like I say, I didn't even use it for so many years because I just knew it wouldn't work. And then when I was kind of forced to use it, I could read the whole time, and it worked. And it was like, okay. I mean, it's like I say, I'm surprised myself sometimes how effective homeopathy can be. And, you know, it doesn't work 100% of the time for 100% of the people. Nothing does. But I would always encourage people to try the least toxic first. And obviously the natural approach, whether it's homeopathy, exercise, herbals, diet changes, those sorts of things, you know, some of those don't cost you a thing to do a little bit of exercise. And it makes a big difference in your health.
Well, homeopathics are so diverse and so easy to use, and they can be used virtually almost any time. They're safe, and you can correct me, for during pregnancy, newborns, infants, elderly, even on medications. There are a few do's and don'ts if you want to touch base on those real quick.
Yeah, I always do tell, and indeed, you're correct that homeopathy is safe for pregnant women. I always tell them, however, to check with their doctors, because I also know that if they're on 25 pharmaceuticals and they take one drop of homeopathy and they have an issue, it's not going to be the 25 pharmaceuticals that are blamed, it's going to be the homeopathy. So I always tell them to check. But indeed, we have a complex called morning sickness, which women swear by, that it's great. And another one that is very popular, breast help, and it's not just for fibrocystic breasts, but it's for breastfeeding mothers that have sore nipples, and they just it's the best thing since sliced bread for them. So yes, with babies, you don't have to worry. We have had people, you know, give the detoxifier, for instance, one drop to the newborn so that they don't have to go under the bilirubin light. So again, it is so safe. If you have, you know, a child take a bottle of aspirin, a bottle of Tylenol, they're going to be getting their stomachs pumped out. But we don't encourage, obviously, kids to drink a bottle of homeopathics, but you know, it's basically will be benign. As a matter of fact, we had it's been a couple of years ago now. The Poison Control Center called and said, you know, they had this kid that drank a bottle of homeopathy, and they told him it was just fine, but they just wanted to check with us for sure.
Well, when you think of homeopathic, and we mentioned earlier in the show the materia medica, and the words are in Latin so that the exact species and phylum or identification of the ingredient won't be mistaken. We often casually use words that a plant looks similar in different locations and may have common names, but with homeopathic, that goes back into the credibility and the science of the formulas.
Right. So in the homeopathic pharmacopoeia that I mentioned a while back, it specifically says in there, not just the plant, it describes the plant, how it was growing, and then it specifies which part of the plant you need to use, whether it's the root, the whole plant, the flower, whatever. It is laid out, and that's the part of the plant that has to be used. The same way with, for instance, with the snake venom, it is just the venom. With the Apis mellifera, the honeybee, it's the whole bee. So it's really specific as to, like you said, the species or in the living conditions of where the plant is and that sort of thing. Make sure you have the right thing. And then, of course, we have to identify it through laboratory testing as well.
Right, to validate it. And so the purity, the authenticity is excellent. The applications have been tried and true and proven to work, and they're not expensive is a great thing about it, too.
Right, and ours are particularly, I think, cost-effective. Our dose is only 6 drops. Many other companies, the dose is 15, sometimes 20 drops, so the bottle may cost a little bit less, but you aren't going to get as much for your money. So always read the labels. And, yeah, you're right, very, very inexpensive. Like ours sell for 16, and there's 100 doses in that bottle. So very, very economical. And you don't have to deal with the side effects that you often get with pharmaceutical drugs, even side effects that you may not be aware of. You know, for instance, we all know that Tylenol is toxic to the liver, and aspirin is toxic to the kidney. And if you get too much of it, you're in trouble. But sometimes, you know, you have that slow damage going on, you don't even know it.
And I've read in many different publications the use of Tylenol or acetaminophen or these pain relievers over the counter, and yeah, it's interesting that, you know, on a commercial, it'll say, you know, doctor recommended, yet it's one of the leading causes of liver condition or liver malfunctions, if you will, are some of these very common over-the-counter medicines, if you will, that the average public just isn't quite up to speed or aware of the harm, the trade-off they're doing, particularly if they've got a reoccurring aches and pains. These pain relievers are not as innocent as people are led to believe. And when you've got the homeopathic, like the aches and pain remedy or the inflammation remedy, there's so many good ways to treat an underlying condition homeopathically.
Right. I always tell people, save your liver for when you need it. Not for this, you know, everyday thing. Like I said, there's no reason to use drugs for insomnia, indigestion, menopause, all these different little things. Use homeopathy. So if there is a time that you actually need a toxic drug, your liver is functioning, and you haven't abused it over all this time for things that were available. Because, like I said, sometimes you might need a drug. So save your liver for when you need it.
And that's so good to know that there are so many things, and we have free catalogs for people that want more information. It's good to just keep the list in front of you, so when you start a family member has a condition, you're wondering, I wonder how I could handle that without using something from a pharmacy that's over the counter, because many of those things aren't as innocent as they may appear. And homeopathic is a great answer for these health conditions. They're simple, they're easy to use, they're very well tolerated, there's almost no taste to them, and they're very effective.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, if you visit our website too, there's a lot of education on the website. What is homeopathy, how it was discovered, and then there's a little clips on each of the homeopathics. And then I know you can get any of the professional for your customers that need it as a naturopath, and they can't get it from us, but they can get it through you. So you learn about what's available. We've even made the professional line, put the information on the website on our professional line with a note, obviously, to ask your professional for it, because you can't order it from us unless you're a professional. So, but take advantage of the education that's on the site by learning about homeopathy and the power of homeopathy.
Well, I like how simple they are to use, how they can fit almost every age category, almost every type of situation you can think of. There is a type of application with a homeopathic formula. And then the blends are so organized to look at them, like you said, the multiple symptoms that are generated and how to be the kind of that immune antidote to get the body to recognize what it should be dealing with. And it's so gentle on the body is what I like too.
And because we preserve our homeopathics in alcohol as well, we're exempt from having an expiration date. So know that you can buy, if you're prone to poison ivy, buy it now, because if you break out a rash 2 o'clock in the morning, Carl, you aren't open at 2, are you?
No.
No. So you need it in your medicine chest. Same way if you're prone to cold sores, get it now, because, okay, if you don't get a cold sore this year, don't get poison ivy this year, it'll be good next year, and the year after, and the year after that. Just keep it tightly capped, and it's good. No expiration date.
Now, they are in dark amber bottles, so you don't want to store them in a bright area, like so in the medicine cabinet. Are they heat sensitive or other factors that could
Well, not really. You have to get really, really hot. I tell people, don't put it in the, on the dashboard of your car during the summer. In Alabama or Georgia, it gets really hot. But I carry it around in my trunk where it's not exposed, and it's okay. It does get hot, but not that hot that it's going to harm it.
So they're pretty durable, and without an expiration date, and they're recognized as potent indefinitely. So that's a great thing that makes it such a value to buy when you're looking at homeopathics. And like you said, if you're prone to allergies or cold sores or headaches or constipation, whatever the issue is, it's good to have a homeopathic on hand.
Right, because when you have diarrhea, it's not the time you want to go out to the Carl store and buy your diarrhea complex.
And, what I've found so fascinating is the history is so long, so documented on homeopathics. And then with the science behind the formulas, there's so well thought through, and they're so diverse that, and with the long shelf life, it's good to pick up one that you just think, I think I'm going to have a problem, like you said, with a cold sore or headaches or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Fever infection should be one. There's a couple you should just always have. Accident injury rescue. It has arnica for the bruising and swelling. It has hypericum for nerve pain. It has symphytum for bone pain and injury. It has calendula for open wounds. So accident rescue should be in your medicine chest. Fever infection complex should be in your medicine chest. Probably, maybe diarrhea or constipation. Then you kind of vary according to who you have in your family. If you have kids, you definitely need the kids' constipation. If you have elderly, you probably need the constipation. So just kind of preview your family, what you need for your animals, what you need for your kids. And, a headache is a good one. I've probably had 2 headaches in my whole life, so I don't need that. But many, many people, I keep it because I always have somebody here that needs it, visitors or whatever.
So it's that's a great gift idea too, to stock up, or maybe a grandparent wants to have something ready for the grandkids, and there's always something that's going to happen. That's just human nature, and it's good to be prepared.
Right, exactly.
Well, I wanted to thank you, Marge, for your time today. I've learned so much, and I know the listeners have really enjoyed what we've talked about, all the benefits of homeopathy, how excellent they are, and all the ways that they can be used, how to keep them on the shelf in the medicine cabinet or a place where you're going to be, like a camping kit. You may have that poison ivy homeopathic ready, so that every Cub Scout should have a couple of them ready for them.
And another one the Cub Scouts should have ready, we have one called Natural Response that's full of snake venoms.
Good. Well,
for hikers.
I see we're just about out of time. I want to thank you again for being with us today, Marge, and I've learned so much.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. I always enjoy sharing.
Thank you. Good day.
Bye-bye.
FM for Winning Wellness. WACV Cusada. News Talk 93.1 FM.